Hi all, I'm a private tutor of maths and English, and today I want to provide a sample of one of my lessons. So let's have a look at it. It's on Animal Farm, and it's having a look at Old Major's speech, which is a great example of rhetoric. So you may be studying Animal Farm as part of your GCSE English literature, but you may not. If you're not, you'll still be learning rhetoric as a key part of your GCSE English language. So this is actually quite helpful, I think, to have a look at. So a little bit about the background. So Animal Farm is an allegorical criticism of the Russian Revolution and the communist rule that came after that under Lenin and Stalin. So what is an allegorical representation? Well, the animals in the farm represent the different kinds of people in history. So, for example, the pigs. The pigs represent the rulers, and the horses, the hard-working horses. They can be seen as representing the working man in Russia, and it kind of sketches it out in a fictitious setting, but really gets at some of the major themes in the history there of Russia. So Old Major in particular, who we're going to look at, he represents Marx and Lenin. They're the pioneers of these revolutionary ideas, if you like. And animalism, the political philosophy that they have in Animal Farm, is there to resemble communism. So yeah, and we're going to have a look at Old Major's speech, where he lays down the animalist manifesto, if you like, and incites all the animals on the farm to revolt. So here's a sample from Old Major's speech, and I'll first of all read it to you, and then we'll see how we can draw out parts of it and then do some nice analysis. So here we go. Now, comrades, what is the nature of this life of ours? Let us face it, our lives are miserable, laborious and short. We are born, we are given too much food, as we will keep the breath in our bodies, and those of us who are capable of it are forced to work to the last atom of our strength. And the very instant that our usefulness has come to an end, we are slaughtered with hideous cruelty. No animal in England knows the meaning of happiness or leisure after he is a year old. No animal in England is free. The life of an animal is misery and slavery. That is the plain truth. There, comrades, is the answer to all our problems. It is summed up in a single word: man. Man is the only real enemy we have. Remove man from the scene, and the root cause of hunger and overwork is abolished forever. Man is the only creature that consumes without producing. He does not give milk, he does not lay eggs, he is too weak to pull the plough, he cannot run fast enough to catch rabbits, yet he is lord of all the animals. He sets them to work, he gives them back the bare minimum to prevent them from starving, and the rest he keeps for himself. Quite a powerful speech, quite a rousing speech, bringing everyone together in the farm, all the animals listening in and hearing of their plight, their exploitation at the hands of man. The question is, who does man represent? Who does Farmer Jones, who is the farmer of Manor Farm, who does he represent? Well, we could think possibly, or probably rather, that he represents Tsar Nicholas II. Okay then, for the GCSE exam, and what we want to do is see how we draw out parts of the speech and analyse them. So what they'd be asking in an exam is, well, how does Orwell use language for the particular purpose? In this case, to rouse the animals into revolutionary excitement. And so what I'm going to do now is show you how I would approach this. Okay. Now we've got these umbrellas here. These umbrellas are there to represent that every little bit of analysis you should do should be under the umbrella of type, audience, purpose. We've always got to make sure we understand the type of writing, the audience for whom it's written, and the purpose for which it's written. Okay, and then we pick apart the language and structure, and the language and structural devices used. Okay, so in this case, the type is rhetoric. It's persuasive writing, isn't it? It's persuasive writing to try and rouse the animals. The audience, of course, is the farm animals, and you've got to be clear about that. How is it tailored for them in mind? Well, it's all of them. It's all of them in this case. And the purpose, of course, is to incite them to revolt. Okay. So I drew out a particular part of it at the end there. Man is the only creature that consumes without producing. He does not give milk. He does not lay eggs. He is too weak to pull the plough. He cannot run fast enough to catch rabbits. Yet he is Lord of all the animals. And what I noticed immediately is that, very cleverly, Old Major draws all of the animals' attention in. He gives something, he speaks about something that relates to them specifically. The giving of milk, the laying of eggs, the pulling of the plough. Okay, so the cows, they feel included, the chickens feel included, the horses feel included, and whoever catches the rabbits also feels included. Maybe about which animal that might be. So we're ready now, having seen something, to provide a nice answer. Right then, here's an example of the particular point evidence explain that I made. Okay, let's read it first. When making his speech, Orwell's Old Major adopts language that specifically relates to each of the animals on the farm. He lists, one by one, the activities of each animal that man himself does not do. For example, man does not lay eggs, nor pull the plough. This ensures that no animal is left to feel that the speech was made without them in mind. It draws them together in shared frustration, if not resentment. Well, what am I trying to do here? Well, first of all, just note, the reason I've coloured them like this is to show that there should be clear divisions between your point, your evidence, and your explanation. You shouldn't try and blur them, so there shouldn't be a sentence that's trying to give the evidence and the point all together. It just often will confuse the reader. So we don't really want to do that. We want to lay them out clearly. Now, you would put these together in a paragraph so they wouldn't actually be spaced out from one another, but they wouldn't overlap. That's the point. I just separated them out, hopefully, so you can see more clearly how I've divided them up. First of all, then, looking at the point. So the point there, if you notice, it's only 2 clauses. It's not very long, because I don't really want to make an overly complex point, because then when I try and explain it, it often can get quite confused. So I notice some very, very smart students I have, they will often make a very complex point, and then it's going to be really, really difficult to try and make it clear for the examiner. So you can still be really, really insightful in your explanation, even if your point is relatively simple. Okay. The other thing you should notice is I used an adverbial on the front, and that's always a nice little tack on to your sentence when making the speech, so it places it in time. And looking at the evidence, what's really important here is that you may notice that I've just got little bits of evidence that I just incorporate into a sentence. What you want to avoid is dumping a whole lot of evidence. So sometimes people draw out whole large multiple sentence quotes, and the issue with that is it doesn't meet the criteria of being discriminating, being selective, being judicious in picking out the bits that are relevant. the examiner will begin to think, well, did you as a student understand which bits were really relevant, or did you just kind of play it safe by just grabbing a whole load of text and hoping some of it was relevant? So you've got to try and streamline it in this way. Yeah, so just little bits of evidence like that. Okay, and then onto the explanation. Okay, it's again in this case, one of the techniques I've used, as you might see, is the colon, and what that's there to do is it's there to further explain what came before it, which not only adds a bit of extra explanation, but it shows the examiner through kind of going into more detail and explaining what came before, that I as the student really understand what I've actually written, and that goes down really well. So that's quite a nice technique for that. So when I did it like this, where it says, this ensures that no animal is left to feel that the speech was not made with them in mind. Okay, it draws them together in shared frustration. So that kind of explains how that worked, and that shows that I've got a grasp of what I've just said. I really have a grasp of it, and therefore they should be confident in me as a student that I'm fully in control of what I'm saying. This all comes together often quite powerfully, and they like it. Anyway, thank you so much. I'm going to stop the lesson there. Thank you so much for listening. It was only a sample lesson. I can produce much more expansive content, and we can go into how we draw paragraphs together, all of these things, the different types of writing, if you wish. So we could go over writing for newspapers, creative writing, all these kinds of things. I teach you the span of English. If you find it helpful, so if you found it helpful, if you found something, like it. If you're happy to subscribe down below. If you found some things wanting, stick it in the comments. Let me know how I can improve it, improve these into the future. And if you would like a particular thing explained, then drop that into the comments, and I'll be really happy to make another lesson with that in mind. So thank you so much, and take care.